Hello everyone, it is I, the Great Gamer, and it's been a while. This is episode or part 2, whichever one you prefer, of the tutorial series on Goety that I'm doing. Today we'll be covering rituals and some of the basic stuff you can do with them, as well as a special enemy you can encounter on your adventure in Goety. Now, before we begin, I do want to clarify that yes, it has been a while since I've last made a video. I sort of forgot I had a channel, for one. So, shout out to, let me get my notes. I had their name written down. I had 100% predicted that I would forget their channel name. Give me a sec. Shout out to Haunted Mincrafting. I will potentially leave a link to their channel in the description. They make some really awesome long-term videos, or long videos, usually around an hour long, of cozy Minecraft gameplay, and they also do amazing builds. I could not do such amazing builds because I am trash at building. Unlike them, so if you want to see some really nice, cozy builds around the idea or theme of cottagecore or witchcraft and other general fun stuff like that, I would definitely recommend checking them out. But shout out to them for reminding me I was doing a Goety tutorial series in the first place. So, yeah, well, indirect mention of that for them, I suppose. I honestly English star, which is ignore my improper grammar. Anywho, today we're gonna be getting started in the basics of Goaty's ritual stuff. I meant to do this a lot sooner, but as I said, it's been a while since the last uploaded video. A lot was happening in real time in my actual life. But the good news is I now have hearing aids, so it should be a lot easier to make these kind of videos because I can now better tell if the audio is messed up or not. Anywho, without further ado, let us get started. Alright, let us get started, yeah. So, by now, you'll probably already have a cursed infuser set on a monster spawner. If not, I heavily recommend it. But I will do a quick little showcase on how you get a monster spawner moved to another location if you don't have carry-on or any mods that can let you pick them up. Goety actually provides the way. I'll cover that in another area. But I did already cover how to make cursed infusers in my last tutorial. So if you haven't seen that, definitely go check it out. It will cover a lot of stuff that I will not in this video. So to begin, the first thing you're going to need when you begin with ritual stuff is you're going to need yourself a podium or a pedestal, a bunch of these actually, and a dark altar. The specific variants am showing here is the Shade Pedestal and the Shade Stone Dark Altar. You can make these out of different types of stone. I'll have a little gallery outside that I'll show you later. But I am going to cover Shade Stone real quick with these because I have not done it in the last video. But Shade Stone you get from putting any kind of stone block into the cursed infuser. It'll give you some Shade Stone. You need one shadestone block and 6 slabs in order to make one pedestal. When you have a pedestal, you can just simply right-click an item onto it to display it, or to store it on there for when you're doing a ritual. Oh, forgot about that. To make the dark altar, you'll need 2 of the stone you're choosing, and 1 pedestal of the same stone type. 2 awakened emeralds, and then it'll give you 1 dark altar. In this case, I'm using Shadestone. There will be Shadestone pedestal and 2 Shadestone blocks. And this will give you a lovely looking altar. You can't display anything on it yet or not really displaying. You can't put anything on it yet, but later on, under the right condition, you will be able to do so in your ritual crafting. Now, such fun stuff. Now, aside from that, Shadestone itself has a few other uses. One, it makes for lovely decor. We have Shadestone, polished Shadestone, all of which come in slabs and stairs. The only ones that don't, I will explicitly state if they don't. For example, Chiseled Shadestone only comes in block form, but it looks quite nice. Shadestone bricks, then Shade bricks. These are different. One looks more like a kind of shingle, roof shingles almost look to it. Look quite nice, especially if you're going to be using it for like a roof or a ceiling. And then the other is your standard stone bricks, stone variant. Both quite nice regardless. Then we also have shade tiles. These are wonderful for flooring. And then we also have shade pillars, which are directional. As you can see, these make lovely accent blocks if you want to add a bit more flair and depth to your builds. And then, of course, shade bricks and shade stone bricks can also be made into walls. Next, we have shade glass. Shade glass and shade glass panes are quite the nice looking glass block variant. Makes wonderful medieval window build design, if that makes sense. To make it, you need 8 glass and 1 shade stone, and you'll make yourself some shade glass. I think the exact amount you get is 8. Yeah, you get 8. As you're using 8 glass and 1 shade stone, you get 8 shade glass, and then you can use 6 of that shade glass to make... Oh, 1 second. These are supposed to be shade glass blocks. Pardon me. Ignore that. But 6 shade glass will be able to make 1 shade glass pane. Or not 1 shade glass pane, 16 shade glass pane. Sorry. I really should have done a better job with displaying the crafting recipes here. Probably should use an actual crafting table, like you usually do. All in all, very nice looking decorational blocks for building, but you can also use these for crafting, as demonstrated with the dark altar and pedestals here. Excuse me. Now, moving on. Step outside. Next, to get started in rituals, you're going to need yourself a cursed cage. To make a cursed cage, you will need to convert iron ingots into cursed metal ingots using the cursed infuser. Use 6 of the cursed metal ingots to make yourself 16 cursed metal bars, and then 8 of those metal bars to make yourself a cursed cage, which looks like this. One of the uses of cursed cages is you can put a totem of souls inside of it, and it will hold it. This will allow you to store soul energy inside a block in order to allow certain machines, if that makes sense, or devices that require soul energy to function. Usually those devices will have to be placed on top of the block that soul totem's inside. In this case, it will always be the cursed cage. There's another way to provide soul energy with cursed cages to your devices that require it, but that will be covered in a later video. For now, this is the basic idea, is to use a soul totem or a totem of roots, place it inside your cursed cage, and then place the block that needs soul energy, in which case a lot of cases will be the dark altar, on top of the cursed cage, and it will start functioning properly. Of course, it will use up the soul energy. That being said, another thing you're capable of doing is if you take 4 cursed metal ingots and an empty focus, you can make yourself a fire spawn cage. With the fire spawn cage, you are able to, simply put, right-click a monster spawner that you find out naturally spawned in the world to pick it up. It'll say what entity the monster spawner has spawned. Go to an empty cursed cage, and then you will be able to right-click it with the fire spawn cage, and it will fill up the cursed cage? I almost said cursed infuser. That was a different thing. That's this. It will fill up the cursed cage with the fire spawn cage contents, turning it into a monster spawner. So, that's the, I think, only way you're able to convert these into monster spawners and how you move monster spawners in Goety. If you have carry-on or a mod that lets you pick monster spawners up with Silk Touch, obviously you can just use that and it'll be much more, or much less resource dependent. However, it might still be like an easier early game alternative to Silk Touch. That being said, definitely a useful feature. Aside from that, these cursed metal bars can also be used to just be... Oops. I forgot I have diagonal walls on here. I will have to remove these. Or remove it at some point, but... Cursed metal bars can be used to make for a wonderful... That's the word I'm looking for. I guess gate bars or fence bars if you have like a fancy looking wall going on like here. You can also use it for a lovely prison look. I don't know if that's the right word. Do pardon me on having to switch these to normal blocks. I had forgotten to do so earlier when setting this all up. As you see here, it makes for lovely bars that you can use to store your prisoners. Trash. Anyway, moving on from all this, we are going to go cover the actual ritual stuff. Now, as I mentioned before, you have your different variants for your pedestals and altars. As you can see here, we have nether bricks, quite nice, polished black stone bricks, stone bricks, high rock bricks, marbled a new block in Goety, as well as high rock bricks. I will cover how do you get those later on. They are lovely blocks that you can use. Deep slate bricks, stone bricks, and then finally shade stone, as I shown before. And then they all have their altar variations as well. There's no functional difference between them all, aside from the fact they just look different. So if you want to go for a specific aesthetic in a ritual build, you can use the different types of block designs with these. Excuse me. Moving on from this, we're going to be using the high rock bricks to make the ritual setup. To begin, you will need a dark altar and your cursed cage, as well as a storage unit that has souls or some way to allow soul energy into the storage unit. Usually, I would set it up like this, have the dark altar at the same block level as all the, or up the same height level as all the pedestals, and then have the cursed cage in the ground. However, you can do it like this. It will still function properly. I do not know if you can go any higher than that, though. Or if you can go one block below. But I do know this works, and so does this. Next, place your soul totem, or totem of souls, or totem of roots, or whatever you're using to supply soul energy to the cursed cage, into the cursed cage underneath the dark altar, and you'll know you have done it correctly and that it's working. Once the dark altar lights up, have green eyes, essentially, when it lights up with green eyes, and dark particles start emitting from it. I honestly don't know where they're coming from. If I had to guess, probably coming from, like, the little holes here, if those are holes or whatever. Now, you do not need the pedestals in any specific pattern or design here. You can just sort of place them anywhere. They just have to be near the dark altar. I set it up like this because it just looks nice, but it can be any more than this, it can be any less than this. Regardless, it does not matter how or where the pedestals are set up, just that they're within the altar's range for rituals. That being said, if they are too far or too high up or too low down, it won't be able to reach it. General consensus, keep it in the same chunk. I don't know what the actual range for it is, but it is a relatively small range, but still big enough for you to have plenty of room for designs. That being said, once you have your dark altar set up, ready for rituals, you will now need to do additional things, because you can't just start performing evil magic rituals and expect it to work. You also need a ritual type setup. there are different types of rituals that are all dependent on a specific element. They all correspond to specific elements, and in order for your altar to be able to do those ritual types, you'll need to have certain blocks in the area. Or, in some cases, have the dark altar be in a certain biome. Usually, they will each require a specific biome or just specific blocks, so you don't have to go to a specific biome, or if you don't have it accessible. Most of the time, you can get away with just putting that dark altar in a specific biome to do the ritual. For example, snow ritual, just put it in the snow biome or ice biome or whatever, and you'll be able to do frost rituals. Or you can put certain blocks around it to make it recognize the ice magic is available, and you'll be able to do your frost ritual. I will cover frost rituals and frost magic and all that in a different video as well. That will be its own specific video. But for now, we're going to cover the magical of elements and a few of the lesser ritual types. To begin, we're going to start with the Forge ritual. Forge ritual requires a furnace and a blast furnace, or two furnaces or two blast furnaces, does not matter. An anvil, a cauldron with lava in it, and essentially that's it. Once you have all these nearby, you can now perform your Forge ritual, in which case we're going to be making the first armor set you'll be able to make in Goety. To begin, we are going to make the black iron helmet. 1 diamond, 2 cursed metal ingots, and then 2 iron, I believe. I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head. I might have to check later on, but this should make yourself the black iron helmet. As you can see, the ritual is successful. You'll know it starts working because once you put the core item required into the dark altar, it will start doing its own little animation. It does not matter where you put the pedestal items, just that they need to be on a pedestal nearby. Once you're ready, the core item, which will be the main catalyst item, will be placed into the dark altar in order to start the ritual. If you do not have the required items, or if you do not have the required blocks for the ritual to be performed, it will let you know. It will give you a little pop-up saying insufficient blocks or insufficient items. And additionally, if you do not have enough soul energy, it will just simply state not enough soul energy. Now you have your black iron helmet. We'll move on to the black iron chest piece. 1 iron ingot, 2 leather, 4 cursed metal ingots. And as you can see here, because I did it wrong, it has let me know. So the right way would have been 1 leather, 1 iron ingot, and 4 cursed metal ingots, as I just used 2 leather, which was the wrong way. Now with the right items in place, simply place the chest plate, and you will get your black iron chest plate. For the pants, you will use 2 cursed metal ingots and then 2 leather. I was wrong again, do not listen to me. Yes, we were missing a little bit extra stuff. That's right, it was this. There you go. Yeah, 1 leather, 3 cursed metal ingots, and 1 iron ingot will make you the pants. If you probably couldn't tell, I'm just winging it at this point. This is all unscripted. I am just going off what I can remember. So please do excuse me. Now finally, for the boots, you'll need 2 cursed metal ingots and then 2 leather. This one I can always remember off the top of my head. Get a fancy little ritual animation. And it is complete. Now, you have yourself the black iron armor, which looks quite snazzy, as you can see. The only thing that sucks about the black iron armor, as well as all the other Goety armor sets, is you cannot put armor trims on them, which is sad, but it makes sense as they are 3D models, and putting dynamic armor trims onto them would be a bit of a pain in the butt. Now, the benefit of the black iron armor set is that you have a special modifier in the form of soul discounts. These will effectively lower the cost of soul energy for when you are casting spells or performing any sort of magic that consumes soul energy, such as rituals, but this is only going to take effect if you're wearing armor. Doesn't have to be the full set, just needs to be armor. With the helmet, pants, and helmet, leggings, and boots, you get a 1% soul discount, and then the chest plate providing a 2% soul discount, altogether giving you a total of 5% soul discount. In addition, the armor itself isn't all that bad compared to iron armor here. Iron armor provides a decent amount of armor, the standard mid-tier armor set for Minecraft, with the helmet providing 2 armor, chest plate providing 6, legging providing 5, and an iron boot providing 2. The black iron armor provides the exact same amount of armor values, but also has an additional +2 armor toughness. I believe black iron is also, just in general, has more durability, and it's a bit easier to repair because you can use black or cursed metal ingots to repair them. For now, I will put this in here. I have something planned for later. Do excuse the animals in the background barking. I live in a very crowded house, so you're probably going to hear that from time to time. My apologies. Anywho, moving on, we're going to go on to the next set of rituals you can do. In this case, it will be the animation ritual. Animation ritual, quite simple, quite easy. 1 carved pumpkin, 15 rails, and then 15 ladders. Once you have all of your blocks placed, another thing I want to note is yes, you can stack ritual type by having multiple blocks for different types of rituals in the same area. It doesn't really change anything, just allows you to get away with having more rituals available to you. The only problem is it's going to feel very cramped or cluttered and might not look as well. But it is possible to pull off. I've seen some people just generally make a cool looking platform using some of the ritual blocks and then have the rest of it hidden underground, but you have to keep in mind, you have to keep it within a set range of blocks. Once you have your animation ritual set up, you can now perform animation ritual. In this case, we are going to make, what was it? I believe the Hunger Core, if I'm correct. Yes, we're gonna make the Hunger Core with 1 Savage Fang, 1 Soul Sand, 2 Rotten Flesh, and any kind of raw meat. Combining all of it together, you'll have yourself 1 Hunger Core. Now, we only need 1, but it will make 2, as you can see there. We'll now take some other resources, and I'm going to show y'all how to make a slice. Now, before we begin, one of the required ingredients you're going to need is pale steel. Pale steel is made with 1 coal or charcoal, 1 piece of lapis, an iron ingot, and a cursed metal ingot, and you'll get 2 pale steel ingots. Pale steel is used for quite a few different crafting recipes, but in this case, it will be used for making yourself a handy-dandy slice. To make it, you'll need 1 pale steel ingot, 1 haunted log or haunted wood. You should happen to be the log itself and not the planks. 1 diamond, 1 savage tooth, which you get from putting a bone block into a curse infuser, as I covered in the last video, and a hunger core. Using all these combined, you can now put your iron hoe into the dark altar, and you will get yourself a nice slice. Once you have your ominous scythe, you'll now notice immediately this is quite different from the standard weapons. The attack speed is quite slow. Has a nice sweeping attack on hit, as always, and does a total of 7.5 attack damage with +1 entity reach. If you are holding something in your main hand, you'll notice the attack speed or attack cooldown is significantly slower. There is a special Curios item in the form of grave gloves that you can make. However, the requirement for that item will require me to go into necroturgy rituals, and that will be in its own video when I cover necroturgy magic. Anywho, aside from that, the ominous scythe is just a decent main weapon. The benefit, however, lies in the fact that anything you kill with the ominous scythe will drop extra soul energy, so you can fill up your soul energy much faster. Overall, ominous scythe is just a wonderful weapon to have. Anywho, getting back on track, next we're going to cover magic element rituals. This is where we're going to get into the main contents of the video, as the rest of the stuff is going to be magic element related. To get your magic element set up, you are going to need one enchanting table, a lectern that has a book and quill placed in it, and then 16 bookshelves. It doesn't have to look exactly like this. It can be however you want. It just has to be close enough with all the required blocks for it to work. In addition, if you don't want to use bookshelves, you can also just use anything that provides enchanting power. As long as there is up to 16 enchantment power available, it will still count. Now that you have your enchanting stuff here, and your enchantment table, and your lectern with the book and quill, once you have all that set up, you are now able to perform magic element rituals, which will take us to our next area. To begin, we are going to do a simple but useful ritual you can do. You can make yourself a waystone using an empty map, a flint, and a bone. And waystones are a handy little item you can make later, pretty early on, but they do have a fair few reasons why you would want to make them, as you will use them a couple times throughout your playthrough if you get really serious about using Goety. To begin, you can right-click a block with the waystone. It will save the location of that block. It will also save the direct placement or block side you clicked on. Once you have this done, you can shift right click to clear it, or you can take yourself an Eye of Ender and an Ender Pearl, put the Eye of Ender and Ender Pearl on some pedestals, and then put yourself a waystone into the bound waystone into the Dark Altar. This will perform a teleportation ritual that will teleport you whatever it is that you put your you have linked your I forgot I had a creative on. Wherever it is you had your little waystone assigned to, or bound to, or whatever. And overall, this is just a useful way to teleport to areas. Now, the sad part, it will use up the waystone, so do keep that in mind. But this is a nice little way for you to teleport somewhere, or have someone be able to visit you in a specific location without the use of overly obnoxious or lost my train of thought there, sorry. But anyway, just in general, lets you avoid having to use like Waystone from the Waystone mod or Xera's minimap to teleport to areas. But in general, it just adds a nice little alternative to be able to teleport around, or if you're in vanilla Minecraft and you're just using Goety, Now you have a way to reach certain areas you want to go back to. Although you will have to remake your waystone item, which is a bit of a bummer. Moving on, the next thing you can do is enchantments. Because, after all, you do have an actual enchantment setup already put up. So why not be able to use it for enchantments? The way enchantments work is that if you have enough XP for the enchantment, you can use some item to apply a specific type of enchantment to your designated weapon or tool that you want to enchant using rituals. In this case, I will use 3 of these. I believe that's that. Using 3 quartz and 1 lapis, you can then enchant your weapon with sharpness. As you can see, it was successful and applied 1 level. As you saw earlier, it also took some of the XP I had on my hotbar, or in my person in general. If you want to increase the enchantment level, just simply use more of the same materials, and it will gladly do another level for your weapon, applying a 2nd level of that enchantment. Now, if you do not have the required amount of XP that it needs, it will not let you do the ritual, obviously. In addition, if the enchantment you're doing is already at its max level, I believe you won't be able to apply the enchantment. However, something you can do, you can also apply other enchantments. So if you use 3 obsidian, 1 lapis, you can get yourself 1 level of unbreaking. Excuse me. As you can see here. So the benefit of this is that if you do not wish to have a random chance of enchantments with your enchantment table, and you're more willing to just use a couple extra resources, you can 100% use your ritual setup to enchant your items with specific enchantments that you want at the specific level. I do think it's also less costly on XP, because it won't use as much XP since you're using other items to also perform the ritual, but I might be wrong. So do keep that in mind. There might be a benefit to using an enchantment table over a dark altar. However, if you just simply don't want to and you'd rather use the dark altar, very well, go ahead. The other benefit of this is that you're also able to apply any kind of enchantment or curse you want, as long as you know the right recipe for it. Which, again, why I recommend using the Black Book, because you can look at all the recipes for it there. Or if you have JEI, you can also look at it there. An example of this is you can use this to apply mending, which is amazing if you do not have mending books available to you and you do not have the means to get it through an enchantment table. However, if you have the enchanting infuser, you'll probably end up using that. But in general, this just provides an extra option for you to get enchantments early game. Or not really early game, if you'll already have a enchanting table available, since you need it for the magic setup. I mean, I suppose you can just do whatever level of enchantment and whatever enchantment you want without having to have a full enchanting table set up. But hey, just another way to do it. Just lets you be more specific with how you do it. So aside from that, not much else reason to do enchanting with Goety, or at least with the ritual setup, but it is an interesting option.